Welcome back to what I think is going to be the final episode of Mixed Together Season 3. We're so close I can almost taste it. In the last video, we did a lot of different tweaks, including creating a wonderful little harmony. It's a fake harmony. If you haven't watched the video, go back and watch it. And just so you know, this is where I really wanted to go with it. But I decided against it.
Lay down and die.
That works a little bit better.
Lay down and die.
Okay, so where did we leave off in the last video? I've made a bunch of tweaks. It is now sounding a little brighter, a little less muddy overall. We fixed a lot of little things. Go back and watch the video for the whole deal. And now I'm ready to do another listen. So I'm going to listen down, and actually I'm going to print this mix just in case I listen down and say, hey, that's perfect. And then we'll be done, and this will be the shortest video in the series. More than likely, there will be a few final tweaks that I want to make. So I'm going to take this print track that I have down here, and I'm going to create a layer or playlist for you Pro Tools folks called Mix 2. And then I'm going to print the mix down. And again, the rules are simple. No touching anything while it's rendering. So we can just listen and take notes as to what's going on and what's happening. And then we can come back and use the list that we make as our to-do list for the mix tweaks. All right, here we go. All right, one quick little housekeeping, just because I've been meaning to do it this whole... Actually, you know what? Never mind. The whole part where they drop the sticks at the end. I kind of like it, so never mind. I was going to cut it. I'm not. So I've listened on my studio monitors, actually switched to my nicer headphones for a minute too, and took a couple notes while doing that. I came up with 4 things that I need to address. So since it's such a small list, I'm going to do one more listen on earbuds. I get so much out of listening on the little white Apple earbuds. So I'm going to do that now. Just going to export this version that we just rendered into Dropbox, head to my phone, take a listen, take some notes, and then I will come back here and we will go through those together. Feel free to do the same. If you want to rewind by about 5 minutes and listen through on different sets of speakers, make sure you're listening in HD. If you're on YouTube, that's the better audio quality, so you can hear it a little bit better. Take your own notes. Let's compare and contrast and see if you hear the same things I do, and then we can go about fixing them here in just a second. So I will be right back. Okay, I am back. I made a cup of coffee and sat outside with my earbuds and listened and took some notes on a little notebook that I have now copied into our little notepad here. So here are the things that I heard. Let's go over real quickly just the things that I'm hearing. I'm hearing a little bit too much of the hi-hat on the big section. I don't mind the pumping that's kind of happening with the cymbals, that kind of washiness that happens when you run all your drums into a drum bus compressor. But I may want to address that. I've got another note about the drums as well that we're going to try first. The guitar before chorus 2 felt too loud. I want to boost the solo meedly part, the part where he plays all the notes really fast. Meedly. Those are getting lost. I need to boost those. The background vocal is too right heavy. We adjusted that. It was too left heavy. Now we overcompensated. Need to fix that back a little more balanced. And then listening on earbuds, a few other things popped out. Mostly these are going to be upper mid-range things, which is helpful to know that if there's anything that's going to just feel annoying on earbuds or in smaller speakers. Acoustic guitar feels a little bit loud for the intro and the verses. The snare sounds like it has too much snares, so probably the bottom snare mic, or maybe there's an EQ thing to address. It just has a little too much of that papery sound. When we were going for a brighter sound, we also boosted the sound of the bottom, the snares part of the snare sound, which is didn't notice too much on the main mix, but on earbuds I noticed it more. Solo, the reverb on the solo, could we turn it up on the strum section? So the parts of the solo right at the beginning where he goes, what does he play? Where he goes like this. Could that have a little more reverb and then bring the reverb back down? That's a lot of these have question marks because I'm not sure. I want to test it really quickly but not spend a lot of time on it. And then the octave thing that we made for the solo, could it go into a plate reverb instead of the spring? Would that give it a little more expansive feel that would work better? So I want to try that as well. And then the final thing, and this is probably where we're going to start, should we send the overheads to the mix bus? So up until now, I've been running my entire drum kit through my drum bus, which is, my buses are over here. So everything, as you can see, this is everything feeding my drum bus. The kicks together, the snares together, the toms, the rooms all together, overhead shaker, tambourine, which we're not using those. And this has a pretty standard compressor on it, which is working about this hard. So it's going pretty evenly. It's good to look and see that it's still doing that. On the kick and snare, it's getting about 3 dB of gain reduction for each. So it's consistent. That feels good. But when it does that, when you have, I would say it's somewhat aggressive compression, especially given that this compressor seems to have a pretty quick attack time and there's no attack setting on it. It can make the cymbals feel a little washy, where the kick and snare hit and the cymbals go, that kind of pumping thing happens. So here's what that sounds like, just the drums by themselves. So essentially the kick and snare take precedence over the cymbals because they're all routed through the same bus. And one alternative to that, and I've done this in mixes before, is to take the overheads and instead of sending them to the drum bus, just change it and send them directly to the mix bus, which will bypass the drum bus compression and allow you to just hear the cymbals essentially non-compressed. They'll still hit some compression at the mix bus, but it won't be as much as the drum bus. So here's what those overheads sound like right now by themselves. So I don't even know if that's going to make a big difference, because I think a lot of our cymbal sound is coming from those rooms, which I like room mics going to the drum bus. But let's just check real quick. Let me just hit play with just the drums, and then I'll deactivate the overheads and see if it makes a big difference. Yeah, so our cymbal sound is not coming from. Okay, there's the fake room we made. So I'm going to take two of my notes. Instead of routing this, well, let's just listen. How about that? How about instead of just saying theoretically, let's route our room mics to the mix bus. So instead of going to the drum bus, we're going to route it to the mix bus. That's the only thing we've changed. Everything else, levels and everything are the same. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, I don't hear a lot either way. It didn't change as much as I thought it would. Here's our drum mix, and then I'll switch it while we're listening to just the drums. Okay, so I tried a couple different things. It didn't make a big difference going to the drum bus or the mix bus or not. Ended up just coming into this EQ that we have on the rooms and just brought this. We already had an EQ cut up here at around 4 to 5K. So I just cut it a little bit more. It seemed to pull the cymbals back in that harsher frequency, and it feels a lot better. So there's our solution. That takes care of two things on our list, that hi-hat thing that we were hearing, and then overheads to the mix bus. Take those out. Let's stay with drums for a second. Let me see if I can address this snare problem that we're hearing. So here's our snare sound by itself. So the bulk of our snare tone is coming from our top bottom snare and then the duplicated snare that we made. So here's what the snare bottom sounds like. We're hearing a lot of that. I'm going to pull it down in the mix and see how that feels. I'll just slowly pull it down until it feels about right. Feels more like a normal snare. You may not have been able to hear the huge difference. I took it down about 3 dB or so. If I undo it, it was at negative 1.4, took it down to 4.2. So yeah, right at 3 dB. So listen to the difference. I'll just kind of keep switching back and forth between the two. It sounds more like a snare with the second one. We lose the snare a little bit. We could probably bump the level like a dB or a half a dB here overall. But that sort of papery sound, especially when he plays the ba-da-ba-da, between at the every other phrase, he kind of goes almost a drum roll sort of deal. That gets a little too sounding. So by bringing the snare bottom down a little bit, I think we fixed that problem. That feels good to me. Let's check around chorus 2. A couple things happening there. The downbeat at chorus 2 felt weird to me. So what I mean by that is it felt like the timing of the downbeat, not everybody hit at the same time. Now, I'm a big believer in my job as the mix engineer is not to do editing, but even over the course of this series, you've seen me do a little bit of editing here and there to tighten things up. And one of the places where you can really make an impact is on downbeats like this, where everybody in the band stops for a beat and comes back in. If they all come back in at exactly the same time, to where not everybody's hitting at slightly different times, it can be like be a game changer for the way the mix sounds. So here's that section, right, coming into this chorus 2 marker.
To the sky. You're not the only one. You're not alone.
So something there just felt off. I don't know if it's where the vocals came in, because if we put the marker right where the kick drum comes in, here's where we are. And let's just look at this line as we go down. We can see this guitar came in early. These guitars came in pretty late. And the vocal, easiest way to do this, let's mute all the vocals for just a second. Just see if it's the instrumental or if the vocal's a part of it. That feels pretty good to me. The one guitar kind of buzzes in. I'd rather it be a little cleaner. I think this one, they're grouped. This one here. No, it wasn't that. What was it? Was it this? Yeah, I'm just gonna mute that little section right there. Okay, that feels good. So maybe it was the vocal. Let's unmute everything and listen again. It feels like the vocal actually came in just a smidge early. Let me give myself some screen real estate to work with. So if everybody was hitting here, he's saying lone here. The kick drum hit right here. So you can see it's a pretty significant difference. I wonder if we can get away with moving some of that around. Even the background vocal. So what we're going to do, I'm going to group all of these together just for a minute. And I hope this doesn't mess things up. Okay, we are now working on all, nope, I didn't group them all, did I? I have broken something. Let's group this, 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 this. Group. Did that work? No, it's not grouping them all. I must have messed up the groups. Let me ungroup everybody. And are these grouped together? No, no, no. Okay. Sorry, this is, I'm sure, a little annoying for you. Select these, this one, this one. This one, let's make them be a group. Okay, now they're all grouped. Okay, now I should be able to move them over. So what I'm going to do is just chop it here. Chop it here. And I'm just going to slide it over just to where that big downbeat hits right up with where the kick drum is. Haven't moved anything else, just move the whole phrase over a, fraction of a second. Let's see how that works.
You're not alone.
That was a big difference. Let's just go back and forth just to hammer that home. Okay, it's right. Here's the before. And let me move it over to the after, so it's one undo away. All right, so I'm going to hit undo and redo. We'll go back and forth. So here's the before. Listen to how it feels. The downbeat feels kind of sloppy and not quite right.
You're not alone.
You almost wish the vocalist would hold on a little bit longer. Everything. The downbeat feels sloppy, even though all the instruments are great. It's just the vocals came in early.
You're not alone.
Now let's fix it. Slide those over.
You're not alone.
So I completely relate to this. When I play live with a band, one of the biggest things I'm more likely to do is to sing in front of the beat. Even if my guitar playing's in time, which that's another story for another day, even if I'm singing without playing, I can rush the beat. It's this adrenaline thing that happens. So I totally get it. So if you think timing is only an issue for drummers and bass players and guitar players and keyboard players, it's absolutely a vocal thing too. If the vocalist is tight and hitting with the downbeat, it makes everybody else feel good, especially on sections of the song like this. Listen to how much more impact this second chorus has.
I will rise into the sky. You're not the only one. You're not alone. You'll experience the same.
Now, I had another note that said the guitars before chorus 2 are too loud. But when I listened on headphones, I didn't think they were. Let's just listen one more time. If you remember in the last set of tweaks, we took those guitars right here and we bumped them up a little bit. So I'm going to go, how about a happy medium? Let's just take this and just bring it down a little bit, like a dB. There we go. Oh, nope. Whoop. Now what did I do? I have gotten into undo land. I don't know where I'm at. How about there?
You're not the only one. You're not alone.
Okay, that feels fine to me. It was a small thing. I don't want to spend any more time on it. There's several solo things that need to happen. Let's check the acoustic guitar. It felt a little loud on earbuds, which means it might be just too bright. Yeah, remember how we boosted the highs? In the intro especially, it feels a little too much, a little too tinny. So instead of turning the volume down, I'm going to turn down this crazy boost we have. So maybe turn it down 2 or 3 dB. That feels more sane to me. And let's check it, make sure we can still hear it in the verse.
Given the first clear thought, I'm suicidal, lost after lost, know what to do. Day after day, I try to find my way in life.
Just boosted that 7K by like half a dB. That feels good. Let's call that done. Now we got some stuff on the, oh, hang on. Background vocal is too right heavy. That's an easy fix. Let's listen to it.
You're not alone.
I like the volume of the right. It comes through, has a little bit of a compressed sound to it. So I'm going to take the left channels and turn those up to match the right.
You're not alone. You're not alone. You're not alone.
It feels balanced. Let's see if the meter agrees with me.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
Kind of bounces back and forth. That feels a little better. Let me make sure that's not too loud.
You're not alone. We all experience the same.
I'm going to turn it down just a half a dB. I don't want to lose that awesome, like if we turn it down too much more, we won't hear the harmony, but I don't want it to take away from the lead vocal either.
You're not the only one. You're not alone.
Great. It sits back, feels a little more distant, reverberant. I love it. Okay, got some stuff on the solo. Let's boost the meedly part first. I encourage you to use silly words like that. It makes it more fun. Let's see. Right, leading up to this note right here. It just kind of, you know he's doing something cool there, but you can't hear it. So let's just go a 3 dB up. Even more? Maybe pull it back a little bit, like here. Back even more. How about there? Oh, it's such a fun solo. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to do, we took care of the meedlies. Yoink. Let's do this one first. Do we want to put that octave part that we created? Remember this one? It's going to the spring reverb right now, which is a pretty big sounding reverb. But what if we switched it to the plate reverb that has a bigger tail? It fits up the middle more, and then the sides is more of just that longer tail, which I feel like is what I was missing with the other one. The spring reverb, it sounds like it's coming through a reverb amp more, and it's a little more obvious. This one might be more subtle. Let's just see.
The only one, you're not alone.
So that's really the only spot where you really hear it kind of soaring above the regular melody there, and I think that works okay. All right, so now I want to take those little jumps, those parts where it does kind of a strum part, and I want to take the reverb and automate those sections to be louder just for the strumming. Okay, I just realized I was talking with the microphone muted. So real quickly here, I wanted to turn up the amount of reverb on this guitar solo just during the part where he goes, just to give it a little more space in those spots. It felt a little empty, and also it kind of introduces the solo and says, hello, we're at the solo now, and then he plays it again here, so it sounds like this. Of course, let's see what it sounds like in the mix.
You're not alone.
Man, that feels good. I love kind of where we've gone from even the mix one, where I felt pretty good about mix one, and where it is now. So if we go back, I'm going to do something here. This is for fun. This is why I like doing these, having these different mixes down here. If I can switch back and forth, and when I click this little button here, it switches between listening to the current mix and listening to the previous mix. So here's where we were with mix one from a few episodes back. And then as I click this one on, you'll hear it switch to the current mix, which, fingers crossed, will sound better.
You're not alone. We all experience the same. Let me help you. Help deal with this pain. Time changes as we face our worst, but we learn to rise again. You're not alone. We will claim our own terrain.
Yeah, that feels good to me. It's not night and day difference. You may watch this video and say, Like when my wife sits in the room while I'm mixing and she'll say, I know you've been playing that same section for like 20 minutes, but I don't hear any difference. Right, that's what we do. We do lots of small things that sometimes you don't hear. So it's not a huge difference, but I feel like we've taken it from, and that's just one example of one section of the song, but we've taken it from feeling pretty good to kind of taking the blanket off, smoothing it out, making it feel a lot better. Like coming into this second chorus, for example.
You're not the only one. You're not alone.
That just to me feels really good compared to mix 1, which felt okay. Here's mix 1 again.
You're not the only one. You're not alone.
Versus this.
You're not the only one. You're not alone. We'll experience the same. Let me help you. Help you deal with this pain. Time changes as we face our own words, but we learn to rise again. You're not alone. We will claim our own terrain. You're not the only one. You're not alone.
Listen to that. Sounds like we added a synth or something in the background. That's crazy. Well, that wraps up my mix. I'm going to get prepped here to print my final mix, and that'll be the outro music for this video. And then I will provide my mix probably in a link below this video on YouTube. So if you're watching this on Facebook, go find the Mix Together series over on my YouTube channel, which is just search for Mix Together. You will find it there. And you can download the mix. So then you have the tracks, and you'll also have the mix, the final mix to compare to your mix. If there are things you like about my mix, you can try to emulate those. If there are things you don't like about my mix, you can fix those in your mix. That's the beauty of this. If you don't have the tracks yet, go to homestudiocorner.com/MT. You can download the tracks for season 1, 2, and 3, which is essentially like getting a step-by-step mixing course for 3 different songs, all 100% for free. And if you want to dive in more, you find out you really do like this mixing thing and you want to do more, you want to learn more, you want to sharpen your skills, highly encourage you to check out my VIP membership. It is a paid membership, but you get a ton of value, and you'll start making the best music of your life as a result of the different training courses and challenges that you'll have access to as a VIP member, especially if you go for the gold membership. So check that out at homestudiocorner.com/VIP. You can see all the information there. See if it's right for you. I'd love to have you. Whoop. I just smashed my keyboard. I'd love to have you join, and that's it for this series. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to print my final mix, and we're going to call it a day. See ya.